right, folks. What's up, Patrick?
Hello and hail, my good friend.
Hail and hello. Good to see you. Let's say hello to
Likewise.
some folks. We've got the Joker LBP on YouTube says hello. We've got Dragon Dancer on YouTube says hello. And we've got John. Hello from Orlando. Hail and hello, everybody. Thank you for
Hail,
tuning
hello.
into the live stream. We are streaming live here on the Midgard Musings YouTube channel, as well as the Midgard Musings Facebook page and the Heilung Mental Spiritual Support Group. If you guys are not yet there in that group, please feel free to join the group. There are going to be some questions that you need to answer when requesting to join that group here on Facebook. So do be kind and answer those questions. It's nothing too elaborate. We just like to make sure that the people requesting to join are not bots or scammers and all that other kind of fun stuff, Right, Patrick?
Absolutely. It's all precautionary measures that are very necessary. Because I noticed a lot on other platforms too, like TikTok, especially. You get these asinine requests or messages from someone who pretends to be an account and they're just full of crap. So yeah, it's very fundamental and important to the group to separate, the good from the not
Yeah,
serving anything at all.
absolutely. Hello, Morwin. And we had Facebook user. I'm
Hey,
not sure who
Marvel.
we got there, but hail and hello. So here we are, guys, on a Friday night here in the United States. I know we've got people across and abroad tuning in, streaming, and watching. We've got some folks in the UK, and as I understand, in the UK, you are on what I didn't realize was a time zone. It's British summertime, BST. So allegedly. So that's cool, and I think you guys are up there about 6 or so hours in front of us. So it's dark time. It's summertime, but it's dark time in the
Yeah.
UK. Yeah, so it's like midnight or something out
It's
there.
all
So thank you for all of the late nighters and the we call them the night owls out here.
We
So big shout
appreciate
out to
you.
you guys. Absolutely. But yeah, it's just a chill Friday night stream. Patrick, how was your week, buddy?
It was pretty decent, highs and lows, such as life and what we encounter. But overall, pretty decent. Thank you for asking. How about you?
Yeah. Um, Nothing too crazy,
That's good.
It's just just the day to day stuff. Trying to think of anything too crazy and elaborate. I've been working on some rune sets here this week. I've got two orders to fill. Actually, I completed one today, and then I got another one to fill this evening, or sorry, this weekend to go out at the beginning of the week. Um, and so for
I
anybody
know.
that's watching that is wanting to get a rune set from me, please feel free to shoot me an email or comment on any of the posts or message me on any of the platforms if you're looking for a rune set. They are birchwood, so I'm happy to I'm happy to hook you up. What you got there? Oh, you got your rune sets.
Yes, the one that you made for me that a
Oh,
special
nice.
friend of mine, Leon, he actually no, actually I think I ordered this myself. I ordered a set for him. I got confused there for a second, but yes, this is the first rune set that you made for me, and I had a choice between the birchwood and the driftwood. And my personal recommendation and preference is, the birchwood. It was fucking remarkable and amazing, and you know, and it just so happens I drew the rune Fehu.
Theu.
Yes,
Nice.
which
I was one of the. Go ahead. Marwin says
no,
we can trade rune sets. I don't know who she's wanting to
no,
trade with, but
um, it's kind of cool that I drew this rune too because I've talked to you personally about my experiences with Freya and just
mm,
everything that's associated with that. So talking about that kind of makes me a little bit emotional, not a bad way by any means, but just this anyone who's watching right now, you have a good rune set when anytime you just pull a rune out, there is a meaning behind it. Now, don't fall into traps and snares of anyone who is a self-proclaimed master of the runes. There is
Hail,
no
good
such
evening, brother. Hail,
there's
Sid's
no
on here.
such thing as the master of the runes besides Allfather, in my personal opinion. So anyone who claims to be overconfident or over presumptuous in that matter, please don't take them seriously. But Jesse, he doesn't claim to be a leader or a teacher per se, but in my humble opinion, I feel like he is and deserves those titles. But that's what makes you special, Jesse's. You don't take titles, you just take action, and that
Mm,
speaks loudly from
thank you.
my experience. But
Thank you.
that said, though, yeah, I mean, his rune set is very awesome, very badass, and I wouldn't leave home without it.
You never leave home without it. So do you take your runes with you when you travel? Like when you go places outside of just like your immediate area, do you travel with them?
periodically, periodically. But it's often said, I shouldn't have said that quote, but I'll say this from the heart. Runes is something I really don't mess with very often. It's very sacred, very divine and spiritual.
Mm,
Now, I've had dabbled in the practice of drawing a rune for the day,
hmm.
and I will admit that I'm kind of, I won't say the word superstitious. If you can find a better word, I'd love to hear it. But I overanalyze things. So if I see a rune that's not exactly, good, it's like, oh shoot, man, oh, it's gonna mess with me
Yeah.
throughout the entire day. You know what I mean, though. To see
Mm,
most people when we see runes, we not get a positive message, but that
yeah.
kind of goes into the meaning of runes. Though it's not meant to be positive or negative. It's meant to be what you're meant to hear, see, and appreciate. Now, I don't know the percent per se, but I want to say my ballpark estimate is like 70% of people don't really appreciate what
Mm.
drawing that they, you know, receive, whether it
Yeah, it's
be
hard to
from
say.
themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
Again, I'm not trying to, assume anything. I'm just going for my own personal estimates. But this
yeah.
that's the thing now, and that's kind of why I don't dabble. It's something that's meant for like, you know, a solstice or a sacred holiday. So
I mean, who's to
or
know, right? Like yeah. It could be
exactly.
that. I mean, it's kind of really just how you want to the angle that you want to take. I mean, if
It's
you're
your
it goes back to
interpretation.
like the yeah, and it goes back to heart cult to
That's
me,
just my you know my
Right,
opinion.
that's your heart. Yeah, that's your
Exactly right.
cultic practice,
Exactly right.
right? You don't
Exactly.
approach the runes as a daily or a regular sort of thing. You hold them in a
I
higher
tried, but
esteem.
it just didn't work out. Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron, who said love you guys. Dragon Dancer says that they need to get a set and they're in the middle of moving. I've known some people that have moved places and relocated their living spaces and have lost either one or several of the runes, or they've lost their whole set through the move. So I definitely appreciate you wanting to kind of get settled in before you reacquire a rune set. John was asking, can runes be misused by using them like a Ouija board? That's a really good question, John. Um,
I can agree more with that. Sorry, you answered. I'll follow up with you, but yeah, go ahead.
well, I mean, I think any sort of divinatory tools, right? If your intention and if your purpose behind using them is to like do something damaging or do something nefarious, I think there's in the hands of a skilled Vitki or in the hands of a skilled rune master, or a rune seeker, like the person who knows how to manipulate weird in that way. If they are skilled enough, then I think then there can be the possibility of doing things that may potentially cause some ripples negatively. I don't think they have the same inherent like I've never seen runes used in the same way that Ouija boards are used. You know what I mean? And I'm not a I believe in the power behind divinatory tools, and I think a Ouija board in the right hands can be mm, incorporated in that way. But I think in terms of using the runes as a like in the same way, I don't think there's a me personally, I don't think there's like it doesn't correlate in the same sort of way. What's your thoughts, Patrick?
I'm glad you asked that too, because in fact, the Ouija board is nefarious for just dabbling, and that's something I've been there, done that with certain things, not
Mm-hmm.
Norse paganism particularly, but like that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier in my approach to the runes. It's
Mm-hmm.
sacred, it's special, and
Yeah.
when you approach it as such, your readings, in my opinion, just in fact, you might agree, is when you approach it with sacredness and good intent, what you're going to see is important and invaluable. But then that follows up with the seriousness of your intent. Like, it's one thing to have good intentions and really be like, all right, what do I do about getting my next job? Or what do I do about this relationship and what have
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
That's well and good. But
So I've done
I,
readings, like I've done readings publicly, and I also do readings for folks that are patrons on my Patreon at the chieftain tier or above. So if you guys don't know, in the video description, there's a Linktree link, and there's a link to my Patreon there. If you pledge a patron amount per month at the chieftain tier, you get a shout out in my video. You get in the end screen credits on my videos, and then you get a monthly rune draw. I do that, but I also have done rune readings in public, right, with people in front of me. And the thing about me with reading the runes is it's not that I go into it trying to get an answer about something. I mean, I am basically a conduit of what the runes are showing. You know what I mean? It's one person might read the runes a little bit differently the way I read the runes, but you're coming to me and I'm offering you my services, and so what you're going to get is from me. It's not that I'm trying to give you a good reading or a bad reading, positive, negative. Like there's nothing about it. It just is what it is.
it's sharing a message.
I'm just the conduit. You know what I mean? I'm just sharing
Yeah,
what I'm seeing.
exactly.
Aaron is asking, do the younger Futhark or the elder Futhark, young or old? So I'm gonna take that to mean that you're talking about the younger Futhark runes versus the elder Futhark runes make a difference in divination and the using
Absolutely
of the
right.
runes. Yeah, I think they do, because if you study the rune poems, um, number one, there are no rune poems for the elder Futhark runes. There are the rune poems for the younger Futhark. There are rune poems in Old English that kind of cover most of what's in the Elder Futhark, because they are older and they were used to write in the Proto-Germanic languages. But in terms of like the understanding or the meanings behind what each individual rune is, I think if you're going to read younger Futhark runes in divination, which I don't personally do, not saying you can't, I just
Yeah, same
haven't
here.
done it. I think you could potentially get a different result out of it, because, like let's say for example, you look at the meaning of the rune Kaun, Kanaz, right? In the Elder Futhark and Anglo-Saxon rune poems, they kind of mean like, or the Anglo-Saxon rune poem for Kanaz, it's the torch, whereas Kaun in the younger Futhark and Norwegian rune poems and such, it means ulcer. You know what I mean? So like the inherent meanings of the runes could change
Dramatic.
if you're incorporating, yeah, dramatically, if you're incorporating them
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
divinatory uses.
That's kind of
Dragon,
why. Sorry,
go ahead.
really quick
Yeah.
here though. From my personal experience too, and I can vouch for this myself, is the Elder Furthark is the way to go as far as divination purposes go. And I'm not a researcher or any wise as Jesse, but just again from my personal experience, younger Futhark, from my experience, is more about writing, as Jesse mentioned, poems and portraying like a literal message. Whereas the elder Futhark, on the other hand, is much more open to interpretation and more applicable as far as divination goes. That's just what I said. It's just an opinion, but also my experience.
Just getting caught up on the comments. Dragon
Yeah,
Dancer
I
would like to think about them the way, using them that way in terms of like, I guess this is in response to the comment about Ouija,
yeah,
using the runes and Ouija boards, is saying that they would think using them in the way would be fine and no different than drawing runes as a means to communicate with the dead. Uh, Necromancy, I think, is a niche in terms of divination. So if
Yeah.
you want to incorporate runes with communicating with the dead, then by all means, that is, you know, it's not uncommon. I've used them in that way. Marwin has high reverence for the runes as well, powerful and sacred, and should be respected as such. Hello, John from Louisiana. Hail and hello. Um, Aaron says that the 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 guy for letting me know the difference then in that. Oh, thanks. Sorry, I'm reading the comments and I misread it, but thanks you for Aaron for the question. Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to the which runes you use for divination and what has more power or what doesn't, we're really touching into the unverified personal gnosis realm because we don't have anything of ancient source material that says that the runes were ever even used for divination. We have some sagas that mention runes being carved to say recite spells, but I think the more I've studied the runes, I think that the runes that were carved for those spells were literally using the runes to spell out the spell, to write the spell in runes. So if it was carved on a whalebone, or if it was carved on a stick, or if it was carved or painted
Oh,
on a post, or however it was done, the runes were used because that's what was the alphabet. That's how written language was communicated. It was at during the Viking Age. It was the younger Futhark. And then after that, right, like, I mean, you had different runes that came up. You have medieval runes, you have different eras, the runes surface differently. So when it comes to like, I think when we read the stories and the sagas and hear about runes being used in spell casting or divinatory type work, I quite literally think that what it's talking about is if you were to, in modern day, write a spell in your native language. You are writing the spell, you are, using this form of written communication to express and manifest the intent behind what you're trying to say in written form, right? It's not necessarily that, they just put, a Fehu rune for wealth and an Othala rune for family and a Nauthi's rune for the need or necessity, saying, our family needs wealth. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was done in that context. Do we know for sure? No, we don't. I just think that in the context of it being spoken in the source material that we have that survives, that they literally painted, wrote, carved, whatever, the runes to express that spell in its written form.
and I feel like that's kind of where we take that position to make it our own, but respectably and with great approach and great reverence. We're not trying to
Right.
do it willy nilly or just attempt it half ass or half measures.
Right.
It's something that's meant to be done seriously rather than, entertainment purposes.
Yes.
Like Ouija board. That's another thing I wish I mentioned previously to answer that too. Ouija board is just to mess around and just get some cheap thrills. Runes
Yeah.
are not that.
And
Runes.
again, yeah, and that's why I won't ever, like, on these live streams, like, if anybody were to ask, "Ooh, can you read my runes for me?" No, I won't. I'm sorry, but I
No.
won't. If you want to support what I do and you want to get a monthly rune poll to hear what I have to say about it for you specifically, because I go into it in a very, like, if you guys follow me and have followed my posts for any length of time, you see, like, I'll share my post that I was doing a rune reading for my patrons on Patreon. I go to a specific place, I do a specific thing, I make it a ritual for the because I take it seriously. I'm not just like reaching into my pocket or being like, oh, or looking it up on the internet or saying, hey, here's your rune pull for the month and thanks for the money. That's fake. Um, to answer your question, Aaron, are Germanic runes different to Norse runes? That's a bit of a, like, it's a short question, but the answer is way longer than um,
Right.
I could say because the Norse spoke like it's all Germanic. Okay, so the Saxons, they were Germanic. The Scandinavians, they are Germanic. The languages that were spoken, Old Norse is a Germanic language. Old English is a Germanic language. Old Saxon is a Germanic language. So when you say the Germanic runes, Elder Futhark runes are what you see very popularly depicted in pop culture and media. That are the runes that were used to write and in a language that predates Old Norse. Proto-Germanic predates Old Norse. So Old Norse uses the younger Futhark to write in. That's what during the Viking Age, when we read the sagas and stuff, when the runes on rune stones in like Sweden, Norway, and Denmark and every place else that you see, quite popularly, you'll see runes carved on stones. Those runes are younger Futhark runes, and they happened. Um, they came into existence after the younger Futhark runes. There are 24 elder Futhark runes, and there are, I think, 16 or 18 younger Futhark runes. So they consolidated, they reduced, they quite honestly eliminated certain letters of the elder Futhark runes. But again, going back to what I was saying, that's why I won't read runes on live streams. I'm not going to sit here and stream live and read your runes for you like some of these other charlatans and stuff that do like,
Pretenders.
yeah, you know what I mean. I'm not going to like talk bad about folks that do like
No,
tarot reading or other sorts of divinatory tools, because if that works for you and if you can connect with people in that way, then fine. I'm not going to talk bad about you for doing that. I just personally don't. I take it from a different angle. I do it for a different purpose, and it's never going to be like live screening, like or live streaming like that. So Susie is here, and I believe Susie is in the APAC region, Asia Pacific region, New Zealand or Australia. And your Amanama taught me divination with Icelandic runes. Again, Iceland's a Germanic speaking language. It's Scandinavian, but they all come from Germanic origins. Later, I learned Elder Futhark, as the information around is incredibly and deeply interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're talking about Icelandic runes, likely what you're talking about are derivatives of the younger Futhark. Not sure who you are here. It says, if I recall, believe Tacitus is the only recorded lending to divination being used with carved rune pieces. Yes and no. So what you're referring to with Tacitus in his Germania, he says specifically that this Germanic tribe that he and his Roman soldiers were observing, I forget if it was the Chadi or which Germanic tribes, because he mentions a bunch of them in his Germania. He mentions that they take a very unique approach to divination. What he says is that they take branches or they take wood from a fruit-bearing tree and they carve symbols or marks, and then depending on the nature of the read or the nature of the purpose of it, right? He mentions that for large group gatherings there was like a priest or the gothi perhaps maybe, who would do the readings for the public, and there was the head of the household, the father, who would read the casting of the lots for his household. So it doesn't specifically say that they were runes, though. They were marks carved onto fruit-bearing, onto the limbs or onto the branches of fruit-bearing trees, and they would cast lots. And they would cast them, and then they would pick 3 out of that cast to read. We don't know if they were runes. Is it assumed? It's largely assumed that they were runes, but we don't know for sure because of the what the Tacitus documents is that it was just marks carved into fruit-bearing trees.
And in my opinion, it's not a bad reference at all to follow.
Oh, Papa says. Okay, sorry. Facebook user is Papa Olafson. Not sure why it's coming through as Facebook user, but Papa Olafson is there saying thing about Tacitus. So now I know.
I've been there too. As far as live streams go, it's Papa's and Sid's live streams. Like I joined them, and I appear as the infamous user, and I'm like,
yeah,
damn it, no, that's
you're
not
such
me.
a
I'm not
you're such a user, man. You're such a
right.
user.
You
and
got
abuser.
Me. You got me. But no, though, as far as the reference goes, Tacitus, it's not a bad one to refer to by any means. That's kind of one that I fall by as far as my practice and what I do. So make it your own, make it special. Let's see if we have another question though.
Yeah, Justin Chris has a really good question. Since we're talking about runes, he's got a question with a bit of a personal answer. When you meditate on runes, what aspect are you meditating on? I'm not a rune caller, so that phrase has always confused me, or I assume the answer would be personal. Yeah, so that's a really good question, Justin. When you meditate on the runes, what aspect are you meditating on? it kind of depends on the runes that you're reading. Again, for me, when I'm reading the runes, if I am reading runes for someone, and one of the runes that comes up is, Othala, the main thing that I'm going to be meditating on for that rune is its meaning towards ancestral inheritance and heritage, right? And it's going to kind of play a part in the overall reading. What else is being read here? Other runes that come up, other aspects of the reading that are present, right? Um, so learning the meanings of the runes, learning the rune poems, knowing what the runes in their respective rune poems are attested to, whatever is documented, whatever we have, plays a part for me, at least, in the reading of them.
I'd like to
Troy's,
ask a question too, just since we're doing live and whatnot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
A popular question too.
I'll get to your question here in a minute,
Yeah,
Troy. But go ahead, Patrick.
you're good.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So, what's your position on Merc Safe runes? Before you answer, I'm going to give my opinion on Merc Safe runes. I'm very hit or miss with Merc Safe runes. It's like the reverse runes. Like when you
Mhm.
draw runes upside down, you automatically assume it's, the opposite reading. And that's something I feel like a lot of people might encounter when they do readings. It's like, well, sometimes like there are times I get a rune that's upright, but
Yeah.
after some serious meditation and contemplation, I'm like, you know what? I don't think it was upright though. It seems like it was the opposite message. So where do you fall on the Merc Save opposite rune reading?
I don't subscribe to reading runes in Merkstave, or Merkstave, as you say. I don't,
I hear you.
because to me, again, the meaning of the rune means what it is, regardless if it's upside down, backwards, left, right. Um, so I don't subscribe to that methodology. I think that methodology is very, very modern and wicked true. When I say wicked true, I think that when in the 20th century, when the runes became more popular in terms of focusing them as divinatory tools, I think that some of Wiccan influence bled over into that, and so you would see folks using like things like tarot or oracle cards and how
That's
they
what I was gonna
land
say
or how
though.
they play, and trying to impart that into rune divination. I don't think that
See,
that makes sense for the runes, to me personally. So
and
I
what you
don't
said
use
makes
that.
perfect sense though. Is this, that that clarified, and thank you for the answer too, because that answered all my questions too. Is, the introduction to runes into modern society is based off modern divination and practices that are before that, introduction period, like tarot,
Yeah.
and then I Ching, and then what else is there? There's some other divinatory tools that we use, but see, me being superstitious sometimes more so than I want to admit to is, kind of goes back to the daily practice of runes, and hence why I kind of cease the active daily rune readings. Is like when me as like my early stages of drawing runes, I see an upside down rune, I get hung up over it and I obsess over that result. I'm like, oh shit, I got Fei Hu upside down. I'm gonna be bankrupt, or I'm gonna have bad luck, or what have you. It's frustrating, and that's something that I'm glad to bear in mind. Is runes. It's not tarot. It's not I Ching. It's not what have you.
Yeah.
It's runes. That's it.
Yeah. John says that, not belittling the runes, they definitely have their layers of depth, but try Ogum, which is, I think, Celtic staves, Celtic runes. I don't
Ogum.
if runes is the Ogum, yeah, Ogum. I don't know if runes is the right translation, but Ogum is completely different under world of understanding. I've not delved into that. I know some folks who have and have uh, found it to be beneficial, um, but it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not really sure, and I can't really speak to much of that. Susie says that some more obscure sagas mention the Fala Spain or Fala Spain, which has the tossings and throwings of wood chips, and that Tacitus references there is not specific rune reference, but it's nice to imagine they were runes. Yeah, exactly. Not specifically to runes. Is it deduced? Can we assume? Do we like to think that that's what it is referring to? Yeah. Do we know for sure? No. and then Papa is, I guess, clarity and communication for when he reads runes. Papa Olson also reads runes in his practices. The Dragon Dancers tried Ogham as well, could never really connect with them. It's Druidic, yes, Celtic, definitely a complete different thing. Morwen also uses runes as a form of communication with the natural world around me. And for me, I give it a bit of myself whenever I do rune readings. Yes, we do. They are taxing. I mean, if you're serious about reading runes, especially in person, I have to take breaks in between rune readings. Like I might be booked all day, available all day at an event to read runes. Um, but I can't go like 4 or 5 rune readings in a row and um, you know, be okay. Like I need to take a break. I need to take a break between
Well,
readings
because you're
and
you're carrying on so many energies from so many different people, and that could be very, you
yeah.
know, overwhelming, and just, overall, yeah, it's just overwhelming. I guess what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean it's just a lot, you know what I mean? And again, I've been doing it for enough time where like and then guess what? You might have 3, 4 rune readings in a row, at least I have, that are like I can handle it. I can deal with it. And then you get that one, like I'll never forget last um no, it was this year. Um and it was at an event that I was a vendor. I was doing readings as a vendor there. It was a Raven Moon Hearth event. And I only did like maybe 3 or 4 readings that day. Um, but one of the ones that I did was for an actual Swedish Volva, and this woman was her lineage goes back to Volvas in Sweden, like legitimate mystics, legitimate Seithkonas of Sweden. And I'm like, when I got done with that, I'm like, I need a break. There was like she read my runes and I read her runes, and there was this reciprocity that took place, and it was taxing for me. Like she walked away from it, and I don't know what the experience was necessarily, if it was the exact same thing like what I was experiencing, but I was taxed, man. I was zapped. I'm like, I need a breather. I need a ground. I need to just kind of take a break. Um, because it was so powerful and it was so impactful, and that's how it can go. Like sometimes you might just get that one that that really throws you for a loop. John says founds that the Ogham are a complete language and deciphering a system in every aspect of in life compared to the runes. See, now here's the thing. I think that the runes are also a language, and that in order to really and entirely completely um, be a rune reader and be efficient in rune readings, you want to say rune master, what Vicky, whatever you want to call it. Um, I think that there is a responsibility to understand the linguistic side of it, the etymology of it. It's not just magical woo woo stuff, man. Like you gotta get into the real linguistics and meat and potato um, side of it. At least I do. If you don't, and that's not your thing, I'm not discounting it or discrediting you. If you don't, it's just kind of where I come from. In my angle is there needs to be that balance, right? There needs to be an understanding of its etymological, linguistic side, and then
The appreciation
being
as well.
open, yeah, being open and free to explore the esoteric and mystical side of things. Like John says, a lot of ways runes have been molested by Christians with Wicca and idiots abroad. Ogham haven't really had that. And that's a fair point. Like I haven't seen any sort of negative appropriation or misappropriation of Ogham. We see the misappropriation of Germanic runes quite frequently, unfortunately, especially in
For a little bit
you
here,
know
but
fascist Nazi BS. But yeah, is it dark out there, Patrick? Where'd you go, buddy?
No, I'm sorry. ADHD is a pain in the ass, so I can't sit still for too long.
No, you're good.
I'm gonna drag some nicotine while you guys are suffering my company here. But
Drag the nicotine. What's that? What's that? Drag the water. Pantera. Drag the water some more, like never before. Man, you like Pantera?
But also to tie back, what? Huh?
I went totally left field. I'm starting to sing "Drag the Waters" by Pantera, and I'm like, hey, do you like Pantera? It was like that scene from Step Brothers.
I love Pantera.
Do you like guacamole?
I can't make the correlation right now because I've had a couple of drink and whatnot. But
No. Yeah, I'm going talking about
No,
ADHD. It's like, ooh, shiny. Like, oh, that's ADD.
oh, a piece of candy. Oh, a piece of candy. But but back to what you're saying though. See, it's intimidating for me being the person I am, and doing these lives. Is I'm not as well versed as Jesse, Papa, or anyone else, but I come bearing myself and offering what I can and being accompanied.
You bring a lot.
Actually, so that goes to all you guys watching too, who may be in a similar circumstance. Don't be intimidated by that position. If you're learning, you're taking the right step in the right direction. Don't be discouraged. You have so much more experiences to encounter, so don't give up just yet. I'm here now. I've been practicing for a couple of years. Jesse, you're the shining example when I first got into the path, and I'm forever grateful for that. And also ties back into your podcast you released last Thursday to perform a basic heathen ritual. And never hurts
yesterday.
Never hurts to go back to the meat and potatoes, as you say. To really fully incorporate and understand what we're practicing, what we're doing.
Yeah, that podcast came out yesterday, and I appreciate you requesting that. Patrick has a cool looking beard. John says that you have a cool looking beard. I agree. I'm jealous of the beard, man. I've tried. I've gone like months. No, John says that he likes your beard.
My beard?
Yeah.
You gotta tell me in person so I can actually take it seriously. But
it's up there on the comments there. Yeah, you're kind of your network is kind of glitchy right now, but he says he loves you. He has a cool looking beard. He says. I've tried growing mine out, man. I've gone 3 months, 4 months, whatever, without shaving, and it gets kind of just dicey looking, man. And I'm like, nah, forget this. I'll keep the goat.
I was outside, so the connection's very intermittent for that moment. But that's about. I officially started growing this beard. Can't say specifically when it, but last time I saw you and Hylung in person, last year in September. That's a good reference point as to like how long I've been growing. So it's been almost a year. And
really, you haven't shaved yet?
At this point, a lot of people are like, Patrick, just trim it up. I'm like, no.
Let it go wild.
Sorry, that's all she wrote. I'm gonna keep it. For better or for worse, I'm gonna keep it going. But thank you very much for the compliment. It made me very.
Yeah, there it is, right here. John Raichi. Patrick has a cool looking beard, and so Marwin says your beard is fantastic.
Oh, shut up! Are you trying to make me blush right now? I have to ask, but also I hope you don't mind me asking this, or saying this, but if anyone has any questions for me specifically, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions because
please.
Jesse has a lot to offer too, but I also feel like I have some things to bring to the table, so to speak.
Fire away, folks. Yeah, fire away, everybody. We're streaming everywhere, guys. So this is as much Patrick's stream as it is Midgard Musings. I mean, we're streaming on YouTube and Facebook and the Hylung group. So everybody that's in the Hylung group watching, fire away. Ask.
And that's something I hold. That's something I hold in high reverence in this path, and that's why it's so special to me. I was once a Catholic, and I dabbled with Wicca, Buddhism, Hinduism, and at one point spiritual Satanism. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not the case. It is the case, but it's just I've come a long way from my journey, and I couldn't be more grateful and happy to be on this path. And it's every day is a blessing. All right, what we got? Because
I'm sorry, I'm just ADHD is ferret time. Ooh, shiny.
ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Hey, what's that? Hey, what's that? Ooh, that's cool.
Justin's been practicing for 14 years. That's a tenure.
Wow,
That's a good tenure right there. And
that's
he feels that
respectable.
he's just really entered into his quote third learning phase. Isn't that funny how it goes? How like you hit different mile markers or different phases um, along the way. Marwin says that you know what will happen if you lose the beard. Uh-oh. Is that something that I don't know
Yeah,
about?
it's not gonna happen, my dear. It's not gonna happen.
Hey, what's up, Mia? Patrick Walsh is a good Irish name. One of my ancestors who sailed to Australia from Ireland during the potato famine was named Patrick Walsh. Well, how about them apples? Or how about them
That's
potatoes?
pretty freaking potato eater. Hi, no,
Potatoes.
no. Yeah, I'm very much a very Irish person in every sense of the word, and that's kind of what's frustrating about being named Patrick too. In my opinion, is when St. Patty's Day rolls around, I celebrate it, but it's for me, it's the Irish Pride Day. It's not so much the Christian or Catholic aspect, but I do appreciate and respect my Catholic upbringing, and that's
Mm.
something that may rustle some feathers on some practitioners.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did a video. I did an actual.
There we go. All right, back online.
You're good. I did a podcast about that. I think last year or the year before. It's wild, man. Like that dude. He wasn't even. First of all, he wasn't even Irish. Um, he was a Briton. Good evening, Fact Fiend 1000. Thank you. I just want to say real quick, Fact Fiend 1000 has been really, really engaging on the Midgard Musings YouTube channel. I do recognize people who take the time to engage on the platforms. I always ask for people to do it, and I appreciate you folks that do it. So folks like John um, and and uh, and we call it Fact
Marwin.
Fiend. Marwin, of course. I mean, Marwin is very engaging on your platform there in the Hylung group. Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. What we need is a good brace of conies.
Potatoes.
You like Lord of the Rings, don't you, Patrick?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Have
I
you
love.
read the books?
No, regardless, so that's where I have to draw the line. Though, unfortunately, is I'm a avid, not avid fan, but a great appreciator of the Lord of the Rings, and I'm slowly getting to that point where I'm to the level of being an avid fan. But there's so much work that goes into that appreciation for Lord of the Rings. You have to be based in the books, in my opinion, to be a full-blooded, Lord of the Rings follower. But yeah,
What's up, guys? I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but hail and welcome.
can't
I'm
be
sorry that
Papa. It can't be
it,
Papa.
it can't be Papa again. We got multiple Facebook users here, so I don't
All
know. But
right.
apologies if I can't for whatever reason it's popping up here like that. I don't know, but hail and hello. I last name of Evenstar. Okay, wow, like that's that's pretty epic.
Yeah,
Um
I'm not gonna lie.
um Cliff. Okay, Cliff. The new Facebook user
Oh,
is Cliff. So
Cliff.
what's up, Cliff? What's
Cliff,
up,
about
Cliff?
goddamn time, you little
Cliff, Cliff,
asshole.
Cliff, you want in on this, boy? You want in on the
Yeah.
stream? You want to hop in on here? If
What you got?
so, I'll.
What you got?
You know
What you
what?
got?
You know what? Never mind. I don't even. If you want to join, I will. I will send you the thing to join, and you can hop in if you want. But I am an avid Lord of the Rings fan. Matter of fact, when I was a kid, when I say a kid, like when the movies came out, I had already read The Hobbit, and The Hobbit. I actually read that to my sister when we were children. Um, I read that book aloud to her, and then years later, when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, we had started. I had read her the Fellowship of the Ring, and I was in the middle of reading or starting the Two Towers when the Fellowship came out. The Peter Jackson film came out. So by the time like Fellowship finished, we had already read all the three books, and yeah, I don't know why. What's up, Cliff? I
Hi,
don't know
Cliff.
why either.
We already knew it, but
Blame
hi.
the streaming software. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
I've been there, done that. Yep.
but so we read the series. The movies came out, and then when the movies came out, like I'm starting to like. I was reading the lines of Gandalf in my best Ian McKellen voice. voice. And I was trying to do Gimli in my best John Rhys Davies voice, you know?
You shall
And
not
and it
pass.
was great because like the characters that they embodied were so like what you would picture them being in the book, or in the books. And then after that all released, I'm like, I want to go back to like the Silmarillion. And if you've ever read the Silmarillion, guys out here that are listening and watching, if you've ever read the Silmarillion, you know what a chore that is. Deity most likely to wind up in the god HR. My vote is Zeus. I mean, Odin, come on. Like, if the gods had an HR department, which of the gods of the Germanic pantheon would end up in their HR department? I mean, Odin, Loki, Thor, probably,
Oh
because
yeah.
Thor is kind of the guy that's acts first, asks questions later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Thor, Odin for sure, probably Loki, Freya maybe for trying to. She would catch an HR case for PDA, public displays of
Oh
affection. She'd be like, "Well, the
I
dwarves were
can't.
just so nice to me," you know.
I'm not
All
gonna
right,
go
Cliff
there.
can't
I'm
join
not
right
gonna
now.
go
That's
there.
okay, Cliff. We just wanted to extend the invitation to you in case. But thank you for tuning in and
Yeah,
watching.
thanks for
Appreciate your
joining,
love and
Cliff.
support. Love to you,
Absolutely,
man.
without a doubt. And that's another thing I want to mention about Cliff, my personal experience with him, as well as Jesse. He's been another shining example of a blessing and why this path is so sacred and special to me. I also, like Jesse, I visited him in person several times. Jesse once, but soon to be second, then a third, and then a fifth, and wherever that goes from here. But yeah, Cliff and I, when we
Wait, what am I
engaged,
about to do? What I
go
miss?
ahead.
No. You
Huh?
said you said something about Jesse being second, third, fifth. What am I? Am I in
No,
order or
I'll be
something? Did I
visiting
miss?
you. I'll be visiting you
Oh,
my
yeah, yeah,
second,
yeah, yeah,
third,
yeah.
fifth. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that will
Yeah,
soon.
gotcha.
You and Cliff will be on the same level eventually. But yeah.
I got you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be coming out here in a couple of months, man. Almost 2.5. What are we at now? Like September, October. I mean, 2.5 months,
I'm
something
not
like that.
keeping track of time right now, just as well as the Highland ritual is coming, because I feel like I will be torturing myself if I do a countdown right now. Now, when it comes October, the countdown begins.
80
That's when
some
my
odd
countdown
days.
begins.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're gonna be here in like 80, 82, 83 days.
See,
So yeah,
and
that's
that's
that's that's less than 3 months.
I'm very excited though. That's an understatement of the day so far, but yeah, I'm very very excited. It's gonna be amazing.
Wizard of Earthsea, not familiar. Dragon Dancer was mentioning this. Actually, John mentioned it initially, saying Wizard of Earthsea is a good series and they're fairly short, so people with ADHD can read them. Cool. Wizard of Earthsea sounds exceptional, and Dragon Dancer says that it was so good. Yeah. So yeah, man, like 80 some odd days. Actually, you got some cool stuff lined up. In less than that, you've got a concert coming up.
You're right.
What, next month?
Yeah, and actually in less than 2 weeks, I'll be seeing Gojira. Something we've been talking about
Yeah.
pretty frequently. Yes, that's
Good.
a little funny story. I want to talk to you as well as anyone who's watching this. So originally, I wanted to get I wanted to buy the tickets for early access or meet and greet with Gojira. But so the meet and greet tickets were like $200 some odd dollars.
Woo.
And I never spent that much ticket in a Highland experience, and I'm not about to start that now. And I was tempted to. My buddy, I'll be seeing them with. He deserves that right. He introduced me to Gojira, and he's. So, anyways, we tried buying those tickets yesterday or the day before, and they were sold out, which kind of works out in my opinion because now I purchased my ticket for like originally $50, but then Ticketmaster's like, oh hey, get some insurance. We highly recommend that. So I'm like, all right, better sit and sorry, fuck it, let's do it. But yeah, I'll be seeing them in less than 2 weeks, and then after that, I'll be going on a bachelor party for my brother's wedding. Something I'm very equally excited to do, as well as my brother being married too. Like
Nice.
My brother, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but we have a very mutual understanding and love for what we follow and what we do, and that's something that kind of ties back into my upbringing and Catholic heritage. And that's something I mentioned to you, Jesse. Is like I'm slowly letting my family and friends know. Friends who don't know pagan by now, they should know by now, but if they don't, they know now. But it's just that was my approach from the get go. I don't want to be flamboyant about it. I won't be in your face about it, but I want to be like, you know what? Just little subtle hints, and then gradually owning up to the point, like, hey, this is what I am. This is who I am. But that's
Yeah.
just my personal approach to that whole thing.
Well, I think it's funny, man. Real quick, I'm just going to get to Fest or Fact Fiend's
Yeah,
comment.
please.
Celestial Matters is an interesting book. Oh, okay. It's an alternative history in which Alexander the Great's empire persisted. Wow. And it's unique, and then the world operates on the physics of Aristotle. Sign me up. I would enter into the multiverse of that just to see what the f's going on in that realm. But to what you were saying, Patrick, in terms of like really kind of embracing your upbringing and whatever religion it might have been, a lot of us have come into paganism uh, and have left the way we were brought up, myself included, the doctrines that we were brought up in. You know what I mean? Um, but I think, what do you think about this? Like, because what I think sometimes is that people get really wrapped up in the religious baggage, and they think that they have to like abandon all aspects of it.
That
And
transitional period is a fucking bitch.
it is,
Because
it
it's so
is,
easy to get caught up in that emotions that you're feeling at the moment.
yeah, because
That's
there's,
that's how I was with the certain phases of my faiths that I've gone through my life. Because when you enter that new practice and faith that's calling out to you, you feel like you'd be doing yourself a disservice and acknowledging and giving thanks to what you were. But that's what I feel like you're doing something counterintuitive. It's important to know and acknowledge and give praise to your upbringing. Now, while it's easier for me to say because I had a pretty relatively smooth transitional period for the most part, it's just, that's not the same for other people. There are people in this faith right now that had very nasty, very horrible encounters with Catholics, Christians, Jehovah Witnesses, fucking, what was the other one? Mormonism. There's so many
Mormons.
branches of that faith. It's ridiculous, but that can go for any other faith too. But just that said,
Yeah,
though, I'm not speaking to anyone else's behalf. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. I'm grateful to be in the position to give thanks and praise for my heritage, but it's going
right.
to be different for everybody, and that's a keynote to bear in mind in this path. But also, and like we were talking about, I think it's important to give respect, if not praise, just respect to where you came from and being the badass person that you are today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. John is asking if you have a Facebook, because he's a former Catholic as well. Um, that's to you, Patrick. Let's go ahead
Oh,
and
what do you
answer
say?
that. He's asking if you have a Facebook page or a website, or how we can connect with you.
Yes, absolutely.
He's a
Yes.
former.
I This is just mentioned the beginning of the podcast here. I have my own High Long spiritual support group that I created upon my interactions and hang out with High Long last year in Chicago. That's kind of what inspired that event. But yes, short answer, yes, I do have a Facebook group, and also I have a Facebook profile. Just look me up on Facebook, and just for my sake, mention that you're part of this podcast so I can, separate spam from genuine. So yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to talk to you and share some meaningful conversations with you. Thank you for mentioning that too. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Patrick Walsh on Facebook, and then I just posted on the screen there. If you join the High Lung Spiritual Mental Health Support Group, he is the admin. He's the founder of that group. So you'll find him there. He's on a 24-hour ban right now, so you might have to wait till
Oh
tomorrow
God, we have
evening.
to talk about
But
that, didn't we?
I mean, if he tries to reach out to you now and you can't add him, then that may be why.
Yes,
But he
thank
should
you for
still be able to
mentioning that.
accept friend
That's
requests. I don't know.
thank you. I'm really glad you're present and remembering that too. And the whole thing too. Jesse and I were talking about this too. I still can't wrap my head around it. I don't know why or how it happened, but Facebook, it is an enigma. And yeah, whatever.
So John's
I'll
from
be back.
Chicago. Uh, Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
I was just going through the comments. Sorry. So Dragon is
Thank you.
Dragon Answer was raised Jehovah's Witness. That's an interesting breed.
That's a harsh one too. Very harsh.
Um,
Very pass or fail in that regard.
yeah. I thought, I was thinking, in terms of our upbringings and how much religion is intertwined with our upbringings, and when we leave the religious doctrine that we were raised in, how that can really set a bad tone in our families' minds and hearts and stuff, because it's like we've left them, and because that's what they've adhered to, and how religion really almost imprisons people. You know what I mean? It's like
Actually,
they're confined in this ideology that you have to be on the same page of religiosity in order to align socially, and that's not
it
the
kind of goes.
case.
It kind of goes back to my my phrase. A lot of faiths are pass or fail. You're with us or you're against us. And as
Yeah,
we experience, Jesse, is life's not black or white. It has
there's a
many
lot of
shades.
area in the gray.
A
Yeah,
lot of yeah, absolutely, and that's
most of life happens
key
in the
to
gray.
remember too. Exactly, but trying to get back to my point though. Son of a bitch, short-term memory and ADHD. I swear to God, I tell you what. But
It's all right with you if I get to Justin's question?
yeah, please go ahead. I'll hopefully
Yeah,
get to my
it's
yeah,
about like our upbringing in religion and stuff, because I do want to go back to it. But Justin's
yeah,
asking,
please.
he's working on a comic, which, by the way, Justin Chris here, I know Justin. He has a Facebook page called the Heathen Nerd. It's hilarious. It's funny. He posts some good stuff,
Nice.
and he does his
So
own
cool.
comics. But he's working on a comic and would love to hear other outlooks on the subject. With as much as heathenry deals with ancestors, how do you convey this aspect to someone who has been cut away from their family trees and knowledge of ancestors? This is a fairly common occurrence in modern times and broken families as well. That is a great question.
Absolutely. That kind of
Um,
refreshed my original point, but please go ahead. I'm going to make a mental note of what I was going to say, but please go ahead.
yeah, so I actually recently I did a podcast recently about ancestry, DNA, like how far back do we go? And so much of, like, to Justin's point, like how heathenry deals with ancestors. I think what a lot of people either overlook or don't put enough credit to is how ancestry works, right? It doesn't necessarily mean blood. It doesn't mean always blood. Like your ancestry involves and includes connections with folks that are not your blood kin. As a matter of fact, the power of the oath, when we talk in the heathen context, when you are oathed to someone, that is greater than blood. So if when we talk about connecting with people, when we talk about having ties with people, when this particular family connects with this particular family, whether it's through fostering, adoption, marriage, oaths, sworn fealty, troth, that sort of thing, that's very powerful in a Germanic heathen context, to the point where it overrides blood kinship. Um, and I say that affirmatively, because there are sources that uh, back this up, in the sense that if you were oathed to somebody, it didn't matter what your blood kinship ties were. If you were oathed to this thing, that, or the other, and you had to kill a family member or this or that, like, it was your oath dictated that you had to do it regardless of what your blood affiliation was. So when it comes to things like, and again, that's archaic, that's old, that's, I'm not saying that applies here in modern times. I'm not trying to say that our oaths should trump or override our family ties. But what I'm trying to say is that ancestry, our connection, you get almost integrated, grafted into the family webs of those who you become strongly tied to through things beyond what your blood kinship, what you were born into. You know what I mean? Um, so I guess, to Justin's point, how do you convey this aspect to someone who has been cut away? If you've been cut away from that family, if you've been excommunicated, if you've been like, I'm a living example of that. I've had my own blood family. I couldn't walk into my mother's home, my ancestral lands, my old Dala lands. I couldn't step foot when my father died this year. All right. I have family though. I have kin who are kin to me. I have my tribe, and I have those who I've been fostered and was adopted and grafted into a family. I have a family. My blood that cut me out of that, and I was gifted and given an opportunity elsewhere beyond that. And so those focuses on ancestry, it's all relative, like realize and understand that it's not just about your blood. It's not just about who you were born to or through or with and this and that. There are other things, and there are other components and other factors to consider with that.
Family
you know
is what you make of it. And there's one quote that I'm failing to remember verbatim, but something about the blood of the covenant. I don't know.
um well, you're talking about that old saying that blood is thicker than water. the,
Yes,
f- the full the full thing is that the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
yeah.
And that's
In fact, that covenant could be of friends and mutual people that you meet throughout your life. Family is, again, as like I said, it's what you make of it. I have people in my life that I consider family. Cliff and some other people,
mhm,
that I consider family by this point. But it's just through overall hardships and celebrations and what we go through life. And that's something that, don't be discouraged if you get thrown out by your family. And again, I'm not in that position right now. I've had been in the past, but my family's kind of adjusted to the fact that I'm the black sheep, more or less, more so than less. But yeah, don't be discouraged in being in that position. You have some amazing people, and this live stream is, in my opinion, a pure example of that
mhm.
measure of kinship and appreciation that we can ascertain through the faith that we follow and the practices that we envelop in our daily lives. You're not defined by your past, and I want to
Yeah.
say you are sorted by your present, but also more importantly your future. What
Well, the
struggles,
past has happened.
blessings.
you know like a lot of what the past is, I mean, we had nothing to do with it. Like,
No,
I'm here, I didn't plan to be here. I mean, I'm the result of a union. You know what I mean? Like, so when you go back to that level of things, it's like, well, now what you do with the time that is given to you is what matters the most.
exactly. Like,
Marwin says that. Yeah, go
so
ahead.
go ahead, friend.
Well, I was just saying, Marwin says that culture has an extremely powerful influence with passing on the stories of the ancestors, right? It's that storytelling, it's that passing down of traditions. When you strive away from that path, it's akin to breaking away from your ancestors, and you become a lost unknown with no ties or connections. You become forgotten in that way. So, in the sense of spirituality, you seek a home and hopefully find it. Yes, oath breaking was a very serious offense. I'm just catching up to some of the comments,
You're
Patrick.
good.
Sorry. Oath breakers went to Nostrund. Did I get that right? Oathbreakers, yeah. That's a later concept. Fact fiend. I mean, oathbreakers in the ancient Germanic context, that was a high offense. If you were an oathbreaker in ancient times, you would become an outlaw. And so I think later on, when Christianity became manifest and evident in the areas, they would kind of frame it around, well, it was a bad thing for these ancient Germanic tribes. So how do we make it even worse for them, so they know that, let's convert you. So yes, you go to this eternal place of torment, Nostrand, right? um Mormon knows the subject is far too well because am literally living it every day. A lot of us are. Um, and it depends on the oath, right? So oath breakers, yes. If I was hosted out of you, or sorry, if it was hosted out of you when drunk or not sober minded, then I say it depends on your mind and what you can and will accept. See, that's when it goes back to John. I don't take oaths, and I don't enter into an oath web with an individual or individuals under the influence of anything. If that person is inebriated, if that person is intoxicated, if there is any sort of mind alteration that's in effect, there is no oath that's going to be taking place. You've got to have your wits about you when entering into the oath web. We are not alone. John says they gave a blood oath to a woman who they fell for at the moment. Saw her in October, and we were going spectacular in every way, talking about moving in together, living our lives together, man. Blood oaths are serious business. I'll just say that. That's heavy duty, you know. But yeah, man. Like there's a lot of baggage that comes with transitioning into heathenry, paganism. Really, I mean, we're talking about a lot of things that I think echo the Germanic side of the practice. Um, but it resonates with a lot of people. There are nuances that I think we can share.
Something I
So you,
was going to mention previously before I lost my train of thought is
yeah, please.
something
I'll
I've
shut up now.
encountered. Something I've encountered many times throughout my faith is my previous infamous Catholic guilt, and that overall feeling that you're being judged and persecuted for not being active or engaging as much as you'd like to with the gods. You're not going to be, it's not Catholic faith, it's not the Christian faith, it's the heathen faith.
Oh, you mean like that again, that kind of like looming feeling of I'm not doing enough to
Exactly.
interact with the gods
Yeah.
because and you're saying that is because of previous baggage from
Our previous path.
religions that yeah, okay. I can see that because Catholicism is super rooted in ritual. Like I mean it's very dogmatic. Um there's almost no wiggle room when it comes to doing anything right wrong. It's like you do it, and if not, you know. Now the Catholic or the Catholic path that you had, Patrick, that was Irish Catholic, right? Not Roman Catholic.
Is Roman.
Um, so you were raised Roman Catholic. So
Yes.
you had like um, confession and
Yeah. Oh, the
all
whole
that
nine
sort of
yards.
thing.
I mean,
Oh wow, okay.
when I went to Catholic school, it was literally like we gathered up in the parking lot, like age group or grade group, first grade, second grade, what have you. We get into class, we get attendance done, and then at the ass crack of dawn, mind you, we go to church.
Yeah.
And then we get preached. And what makes me laugh to this day is like, how do they expect us to really fully ascertain and understand what's going on when all of us kids are like focused on, hey, when we get to eat, when we get to play, when we get to do this, like, oh, here's some serious heavy shit about religion. Like some
Mhm.
people, they understood what was going on. But me personally, like for one example, I was in grade school and this is really random by the way, but like it was during the Furby craze. You remember the little Furby toy?
Oh man, them things,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one time in mass, there's this whole sermon going on, but I'm right here on the radio that morning. They're giving away Furbies. And the whole time during the mass, I'm like, how do we get a Furby? How do we get this? How do I do that? Like, I was never paying attention to what was going on.
Because
No,
of the damn Furbies.
you're a fucking kid. Your attention span is as well as mine is today. It's like, oh, good luck with that,
Going back to the ADHD thing, you know.
Exactly. And so it may not be the HD, maybe just be my childhood brain, but who knows? But as a
Yeah.
closing statement, because as I mentioned to you, Jesse, and anyone who's watching, I have to open up my lovely job tomorrow freaking morning. I'm
Yeah.
so
If
excited
it's
for
all right,
what.
I'm gonna continue streaming whenever you
No,
drop.
please
But
do. Yeah, please do. And please forgive me for leading the time that I am. I just,
no, no worries. Go ahead. Say what you want to say. The floor is yours.
but very happy and very grateful to be part of the stream. And thank you all for suffering through my company, the stream. And, a lot of things I take to heart. And I'm,
You need to knock that
again,
off. I'm just
no,
gonna say
I
it right now.
I
Stop
appreciate it.
apologizing. You got nothing to
God. See,
apologize
there's my
for,
Catholic
sir.
guilt.
You
There's my
got that.
Catholic guilt.
Shut up, you. Ain't
But no,
nothing for you to apologize for, dude. Thank you
you're right.
for being
No, yeah,
here.
we all have our own things that we're going through. But thank you everyone who's made some very awesome comments and suggestions and being part of this live stream. I'm very happy to be part of this. And again, just mentioned, I posted the link to my Facebook group. You know, if you have a love for High Long and just this overall practice, you're more than welcome. Please answer the security questions. That's all you gotta do. Just answer 3 simple freaking questions, and
So
I'll
simple.
approve you. Now,
So
if you have
simple.
a mutual group like the High Long Spiritual Group, I'll more than likely accept you, just because that group is pretty solid about accepting people. But yeah, that's it though. Yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your night, Jesse. I hope you have a great rest of your stream. I'll be popping in and out before I go to
Yeah.
sleep in about
Okay.
45
Cool.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you, Patrick, for coming out here and talking with all of us and sharing your thoughts on things. I am actually going to keep the live stream going. Marvin says, "Sleep well and stop apologizing." It's one of those old habits die hard, right, people? Old habits do die hard. Cliff
Yeah.
says, "Night, Patrick," or Cliff or Papa, one whoever it is.
Good night, Cliff.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a restroom break, ladies and gentlemen. Not to be too graphic, but I'm going to leave something on the screen for everybody that's here. I'll keep it on here for you. I will keep the live stream going, and I will be back to talk more about things with you all. So thank you, Patrick, for being here. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. It means the world to me.
All right, sir. Well, you have a great night, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure, as we always do. But for everybody else, stick around. Go ahead and visit the restroom yourself. Refill your glass, your horn, your cup, your chalice, your mug. Stretch your legs. Get that blood flowing. I will be back here soon, and we will continue the live stream until whenever. So I will talk to you all soon. Thank you again, Patrick. Talk to you guys soon.
My pleasure. Ta-ta.
Well, hello, welcome back, everybody who's still here. I'm back. Hope you guys enjoyed that with Patrick and I. I'm going to be here just for a little while longer because I still got things to talk about. The talk of the town, as they say. Hope you're all doing well on this Friday evening. Oh, Jasmine, Facebook user. It's crazy. I don't know why this software does it that way. So I apologize for everybody that comments, and I can't shout you out by name, but thank you for commenting, Jasmine. Have a good night. Fact Fiend. You take care as well, John. And Oha, Morrowind. So we are still live streaming here on Facebook, YouTube, and well, that's it. YouTube and Facebook on the Midgard Musings Facebook page, the Midgard Musings YouTube channel, and the Heilung Mental Health Spiritual Support Group. There was a thing that I was thinking of when we were talking. Patrick and I were talking about religion and how it can kind of, you know, have this impact on us when we come into a new path, and it's like it's such a controlling thing. It's so impactful. It's like if we're not believing a certain religion, we're not believing a certain way, then all of a sudden the way that we were brought up, the morals, the ethics, everything that were a part of our upbringing get thrown out the window because we're not listening to the doctrine that this specific religion or whatever uh, preaches or teaches, and that's unfortunate, I think, because I believe that we as individuals, right, and this kind of really focuses more on the Germanic heathen worldview that I've adopted, is that we are our deeds. We are the things that we do, and the things that we do determine uh, our place in the world. Um, so the things that are done lawfully, orderly, um, we build and we establish honor when we do things like that. If we have honor, it is because of the things that we're doing that are lawful, that are good for the community, for the tribe, for the collective. And if we do not do those things and we do not have honor, and therefore our deeds, that is how we are measured. It doesn't matter what god or gods or goddesses or anything like that you believe in. It is your works. It is by your deeds that you are known, and by your deeds that you are measured up against. How your worth is determined, how your where your value is placed is determined on your deeds and on your actions. And that's what really, like, for me, has blew my mind, just to be honest. It's like the deeds that I've done, the things that I've put myself into, like the works that I've done for people, my family, my blood kin, right? um, all of those good deeds have been, like, obsolete. Doesn't matter anymore, because you don't believe a certain way. You're still a heathen. Like, I remember sending a message to one of my family members one time, and I was like, "Hey, I love you. Hope all is well." And then instead of, the response I get back was, "Are you still a heathen?" Fuck does that matter? I just told you I loved you, unequivocally, unconditionally. You know. Um, Marwin, one day would love to chat about this. Yeah, absolutely. If you're talking about coming onto the podcast or just chatting offline about it, I mean, you can message me on the Midgard Musings Facebook page. But if you'd like to be on the podcast and you want to talk about stuff like this, then by all means, please feel free to email the podcast at midgardmusingstn@gmail.com. But of course, you can always send me a direct message on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, whichever platform you choose. We can hash out the details about it. Um, but if you're anybody really, for that matter, that wants to suggest a topic for the podcast, or um, you know have a have an idea about something, but it's not just about the podcast, right? Because we are streaming live in multiple areas. So we're in the Highlands Mental Health and Spiritual Support Group that Patrick runs. I help admin along with him and Cliff and other moderators. So it's great to be here tonight on a Friday. Today, for those of you, well, it's still tonight, but it's early morning, late night. For those of you that may be listening or watching across other regions of the world outside of the domestic United States. So for those listening and watching in the United Kingdom or in the APAC region in Australia, New Zealand, etc. Thank you for sticking around. First of all, if you're still here. Um, but yeah, it's wild to me how like I don't know, like the doctrine overrides the deeds. They don't want to see the deeds being done. They don't want to focus on that. They want to focus on, well, who do you believe in? Who do you worship? Well, I mean, in some contexts, right? And in some meaning, like that's none of your business. You know, my hearth cult is my hearth cult, and as long as I'm not doing anything to damage you and yours, um, really, what does it matter? Late Saturday morning here on the east coast of Australia. Nice, Australia. I've always wanted to go. Um, I used to talk to a guy that I can't remember exactly where in Australia he lived, but he would always be like, "Oh, mate, yeah, come over here. I want to show you the real Australia." He's like talking about like I don't know, Crocodile Dundee out in the bush type stuff. He's like, "It ain't Sydney, it ain't Melbourne. I'm gonna show you the real Australia." I'm like, "Okay, dude." You know, but he was drunk half the time too, so that's the thing. Hello, Justin says, by the way, thanks for the answers. Was feeling hesitant on the comic as I wasn't sure if my take was just worth it. But it's similar to yours, so I feel better about the words. Justin, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for commenting. First of all, thank you for putting this out here and eliciting such a stimulating conversation about it. You know, I'm a big advocate of spreading the knowledge, spreading the ideologies, and if it helps you with what you're trying to convey, then great. That's the real Australia. Yeah, the real Australia. You know what I like about Australia, or at least the people that and don't get me wrong, like I'm not trying to lump the entire continent, the entire country, the entire area of Australia into one summary, but I like how um, there's almost like an R at the end of certain words. Like instead of saying no, it's nor. And I can't do it right because I'm not Australian, so I don't want to like offend you by saying it. But there's like this subtle R sound at the end of you know the things that would just end in a O sound, or if it's like I know what you're saying, it's I know what you're saying, but like the actual word, like I don't want to go. No, I'm not going. No, I don't. I'm gonna just shut up now. I'm digging a hole that I probably can't get myself out of. That is that's an unfortunate event that took place there. No disrespect to the Australians. No disrespect to you. Um, Mean, who's that? Mean Saxa. Mean Saxa. Maybe I'm saying it right. Um, no, keep going. Marwin, I think I'm going to bow out of that. There's a you gotta what's that? Kenny Rogers, right? You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away. I'm knowing when to walk away here. Um, and it says that it is interesting being pagan in the southern hemisphere. We obviously have. turn the wheel of the year. Yes, that is a great point, and thank you for bringing it up because you're obviously here on a Germanic heathen stream, right? Midgard Musings, and of course in the Heilung group. Heilung being a Germanic group of performers and entertainers and practitioners. They embody the indigenous ways of Germanic people, which is in the northern hemisphere. So when you are in the southern hemisphere and have an inclination to practice beliefs and things that are modeled in the northern hemisphere, again, everything's flipped. So for us here in the northern hemisphere that practice Germanic heathenry, our Yule season is opposite of yours. Our summer is your winter. Um, that would like if I had to relocate and live in the southern hemisphere, I'd probably rock my world. Honest, I would be really, really confused. Right. Appreciate the podcast, there. Thank you. Oh well, thank you, Josh, for saying such. I appreciate you for saying that. And thank you to everybody who subscribes to the Midgard Musings YouTube channel, who follows me on socials, follows the podcast, ramblings. I'm glad you like it. It means a lot. The wheel of the year is kind of fuzzy here in South Florida. Well, that's because of the humidity. No, but it is humid. It is very humid here in Tennessee too, where I live. We are actually getting a short reprieve over the next couple of days, and I say reprieve, I mean that it is. It's still warm. It's still hot. But we're like, I don't know, over the last month or so, we've had some really, really high humid days. It's triple digits regularly. We're going to be getting that again this week and probably on and off again for the next week here in Tennessee. I am not a native Tennessean. I am a native New Yorker, so my blood is from the north. I am born and bred in the north. I love the cold. And so south, southern humidity is not conducive to this north. Right? Some people like to use Norseman and Northman as this like title of their beliefs. No, I am a legitimate born and bred North. Um, and this southern humidity does not do well for me. I don't like it. But fortunately, I live right by the river. I am in the river quite frequently, um, embodying that what I am about, my animistic side, and Heron is very near and dear to me. So I definitely embody that, take on the spirit of the Heron in my practice. So being in the water, being in the marsh, works well for me in that aspect. In terms of enjoying being outside in the heat, no, I prefer the cold. No idea how you survived New York City. Ah, yeah. New York City? New York. I'm not from New York City. New York City is like a blip on the map when it comes to the state of New York. I'm originally from Long Island, but I lived in the lower foothills of the Catskills, more or less the Hudson Valley area. We were close to the city, um, but the city is its own degenerative melting pot of crap. And says that many years ago started in the Southern Hemisphere pagan group, and then most on Facebook were from the U.S. Wow, interesting. Um, get used to it. It's lovely to honor what you do. Celebrating in the North. Yes, we don't all sound like that. No, I know. I'm sorry. You know, again, no disrespect to the folks. I actually know this other fella who's I think from like the Melbourne area. His Australian accent is very subtle, and maybe because he's traveled a bit and tours, he's a musician. Um, but he has a very subtle Australian accent, and again, maybe just because he's kind of like in the United States. Every region of the country, Northeast where I'm from has a different accent than the Midwest, which has a different accent from the South, from the Pacific Northwest. It's all relative. So again, not trying to lump all of the Australians into one category. Um, and I didn't mean to do that. If I did, if I portrayed it that way again, not trying to. I just know, like, again, when you talk about like, oh, the American accent, there is really no American accent. It's dependent on where you're from. Like, are you from the Northeast? Are you from the Northwest? Are you from the Southeast? Southwest? Are you from the Midland area of the country? My wife is from Tennessee. I am from New York. We both sound entirely different, but we are both from the United States. Why I super high with that? Kind of strange, but yeah, we both sound different. We're from different areas of the country. I'm sure the same applies places abroad. Like, it's, the in the United Kingdom, right? People from London, so they don't sound the same as people from I don't know, Wales or something. Well, good night to you, Jasmine. Back to the fan. Oh, back to the farm. Oh, back to the fam. Well, they said back to the farm. I'm like, what are you doing at 9 o'clock at night? What time is it? Yeah, almost 8:30 not for the farm. But hey, I've worked on a farm. Like, there is no time when it comes to, relatively speaking. It's 4 in the morning. If it's 8 in the evening, 10 o'clock at night. If something needs to be done, then it doesn't matter what time of day or night it is. It's got to be done. First, I thought you said you had to go back to the farm. I'm like, wow, cool. Getting back to the fam. I respect that. Hail and thank you. So we covered a lot tonight, guys, on the stream. We covered, um, without even really, I don't know, trying to. Like, talked about runes. No farmer Jasmine. Okay, well, that's all right. It's all right if you are, and it's all right if you're not. It's all right, all right, all right. Yeah, we talked about runes. We talked about religion in the sense of baggage that we carry from practice. Now we're talking about practicing Germanic heathens in the southern hemisphere and how you got to flip the wheel, got to flip that bitch. I'm saying you gotta toss it on its end and figure it out. Or as they say in the Midwest, you gotta figure it out. I say Midwest, I mean like Minnesota and Michigan and Canada, and you gotta figure it out. But what else? This background that you see behind me here, an AI generated image that I think was a prompt that I entered for Manic Chieftain's Longhouse. That's what the AI came up with. One of many things the AI came up with. And I thought it fit well for the aesthetic that we're going for here, on the stream. So I reckon, I reckon, I reckon that's just about it. So thank you all so much for coming here. First of all, secondly, I was wondering if you guys had checked out the last podcast about practicing, practice, how to perform basic. Did you guys check it out? Did you watch it? Did you listen? So where? And then what were your thoughts on it? Did you find any value in it? Did it kind of help educate or point you in a direction of knowledge? I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. Like, I put polls, I put questions, I put stuff like that out there a lot of times on the Spotify or podcast is distributed, but I always like to get live stream. I always like to get responses and answers from people that are engaged with it. And if you didn't catch it, that's okay. It is on the YouTube channel. It is out on Spotify, and it's on like almost a dozen other podcast platforms. So if you're an Apple Podcaster person, Google Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, I mean, there's a bunch of them out there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts are the big three. So hopefully you found some value to it. Um, I've got a really cool video coming up this next week. Um, this is kind of like a viewer request, listener request, and God goddess discussion. I'll just leave it at that. So I know we're streaming on the Midgard Musings Facebook page and YouTube channel. We're also in the Heilung Mental Health and Spiritual Support Group. I am very excited to be going to the Heilung ritual in Huntsville, Alabama. Where are you guys going? Watching this Heilung group still here? Are you guys going to the Heilung ritual here in North America? And if so, where are you going? Hello, Oakland. Rick, are you planning on doing more collaboration type podcasts? Always listen to podcasts whilst at work. Love hearing the different opinions your channel brings out. I am always open to collaboration. I absolutely love having people on that share different views on things, not just TV. I did a podcast with a fitness coach last month or so, and actually the person that inspired the next episode of the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast accidentally called that fitness coach because they were watching that episode and they thought that they were calling my hotline. They thought that they were calling the Midgard Musings hotline to leave a question, and they ended up calling this fitness coach who I had on as a guest on my show. But as it turned out, like it was a match made to be because they were themselves working on fitness, health, wellness, and this and that, and this fitness coach that they inadvertently called. Um, it turns out that they're going to be able to help this person. I thought, well, that's great. So yes, I am absolutely looking to do more collaborative type podcasts and having guests on. If you have any suggestions and you think that you'd like to have somebody on podcast, message me, send me an email, you can drop it in the comments, this video, right? Um, I'm open to any of them. So I'm always looking for collaborators, folks that want to share their message platform. You know, get on a podcast and talk for an hour or two or however long. I'm absolutely about it. Yeah, but interestingly enough, right, like the person who inadvertently called the fitness coach guest of mine, they had a request for a topic of discussion on a particular goddess who doesn't get much attention. Germanic Norse goddess doesn't get much attention, or there's not much attested literature to her. And so I'm really excited to delve into that next podcast. So that'll be out next Thursday. And, her story is pretty goddesses. And then the person who requested it has a pretty unique story as well. Probably be some of that person's story on the podcast too, because they called and they left 4 voicemails. 4. Because when you call to the hotline, you've got a limit of 3 minutes. Like after 3 minutes, it cuts you off. Got more to say, you got to call back. But who leaves 3-minute voicemails? Well, this person does. And they left 4 3-minute voicemails. They left 10 minutes worth of a voicemail my inbox. And we're going to listen to some of that next week because, again, they are the ones that requested the content. So if you want to call in, it is a Google Voice number. So wherever you are in the world, standard, probably, standard rates apply. But you'll have to dial 1 for the United States, 615-671-9832. That is the hotline for my podcast. Call and voicemail. I'm sure that voice and data rates apply if you're dialing internationally with the US-based number, but it's a Google number, so I don't know how that works. So, but I always give that disclaimer. If you're outside of the United States, and you want to call in, be aware that. So that's all I've got for you guys tonight. We've been streaming now for almost 2 hours. I feel like that's a really hearty effort for tonight's stream, and I want to say a special thank you to Patrick Walsh, who took time out of his evening to come out and chat with us. For those of you that are not in the Highland group, if you're watching this on our music Facebook page or YouTube channel, down here you'll see the name of Patrick's Facebook group. If you want to connect with Patrick and other folks that have a love for Highland and a love to help people and support folks um, throughout their mental and spiritual growth, please consider joining this group on Facebook. It's called Highland Mental/Spiritual Support Group. I co-admin with Patrick, but he's the founder, so he's the mastermind behind it all, and he's the one that kind of has set the standard for all of us. So do consider joining if you haven't yet already. As always, be sure to give this video that you're watching right now, react to it. Give it a thumbs up if you're on the YouTube platform, if you're on Facebook or wherever else, and then give it that heart emoji react, give it the care react, give it the thing that the algorithm gods love the most because they love being stroked. They love that ego stroke. The reason why they love it is because they kick things out like that to others, right? So not only will you see more stuff like like this content, but stuff like this, other people. It'll get shared out to all the other fine folks out there. So please be sure to do that. Um, Comment down below what you thought of this episode. Thank you so much for being here tonight, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. All of the international folks outside of the domestic U.S. for being here. Australia, United Kingdom, everywhere else. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next one. In the meantime, be well, do well. May the gods continue to notice you. May your ancestors smile. Thank you all so much.